Hello, America's Better Values, Sooner, Safer, Happier community. It's great to be able to present this story with you today. So as Christiana mentioned, my name is Marcus. I'm from Sooner, Safer, Happier.
Hi, everyone. Such a privilege and a delight to be with you here today. As Christina said, I am Anna. We're here today to tell you about our ways of working journey in community support at Airbnb. We're presenting because we're community minded. I've so been looking forward to this opportunity to share more about what we've learned in our journey thus far, which is all about ways of working in an operational setting. So to begin, Marcus, can you tell us a little bit about Airbnb?
Thanks, Anna. Well, we started working with Airbnb in 2021, and we all know who Airbnb is, but just so we're on the same page, here's a little bit of information. So Airbnb was founded in 2008 by three founders, Joe, Brian, and Nate, and by 2011, it was a unicorn, and a unicorn is a privately owned startup with a valuation of $1 billion. And today, you can access Airbnb in 100,000 cities. There are 4 million hosts. There are over 6 million listings, and there've been over 1 billion stays on the Airbnb platform. Now, these are really impressive numbers, but for me, the most impressive thing about working with Airbnb is its host-like culture. It really is a privilege to be working with Airbnb. So Anna, you mentioned this is chapter one of our story. Where does our story begin?
Thanks. So as we shared, our story begins with community support. So we're the team that provides community and customer service to our hosts and guests. We like to say that every day, millions of hosts and guests are sharing meaningful experiences on Airbnb. And when you need our help, community support is there to answer the call or the email or the chat with over 10,000 support ambassadors around the globe. There are over 100 million trips on Airbnb every year. 87% of the time, people never need to contact us, but we're there if they do in the moments that matter most, ensuring that your experience is positive, memorable, and meaningful. Now, to put it in context, community support is an integral part of platform operations at Airbnb. And the service we provide is our core product, but we partner cross-functionally with many other teams, from hosting to technology to marketing, to develop the services, the policies, the products that help deliver a positive community experience for our community. So, for a little bit about Airbnb, an undisputed success story. It's been such a privilege to be a part of that journey. And in CS, we're passionate about our mission. So why did we want to change our ways of working? Well, improving ways of working started in many respects many years ago, right? We're very much a company that scaled rapidly. As we've scaled over the years, so has our complexity. Whilst we still have startup in our DNA, more and more we found ourselves running fast and struggling to achieve outcomes in the ways that we wanted, weren't moving the needle on those key customer indices for our community. And while we tried to improve our system of work many times over the years, those improvement efforts just didn't stick. They were always too top-down, too process-focused. They were generating more bureaucracy and more complexity and failing to move the needle. So in early 2021, we're really grappling with this as a leadership team. We knew we needed something different. We knew we wanted to be more agile, but we didn't want a rigid framework. We didn't want a capital A, capital T agile transformation for our teams. We're starting to play with this concept of what would new, more nimble ways of working look like for our teams. And as we're debating this, thrashing through this, our chief of staff happened to pick up a copy of the book, Sooner, Safer, Happier, and it really crystallized our emergent thinking. If we were to be successful in our ways of working, we needed to focus on outcomes over outputs. And with this focus, we started to develop a vision. We aligned on these from and to statements that helped better communicate the change that we were seeking for our teams. We knew we wanted to be one team, striving towards clear outcomes, guided by shared understanding, in teams feeling psychologically safe, delivering incremental value. So with that vision in mind, Marcus, how did we get started?
Thanks, Anna. So as Anna mentioned, we didn't want a one-size-fits-all for improving ways of working, and here's how we got started. We began with a discovery process to learn more about the ways of working landscape, and this involved interviewing people from across the business, as well as a ways of working survey. And we learned that Airbnb has an amazing culture. However, the discovery also illuminated a number of challenges. We learned that the ENPS for ways of working was -71, which meant people weren't very happy with how outcomes were being achieved. We also learned there's a work in progress or WIP challenge with over 30 priority number ones. And the survey question, is WIP manageable? Had a response of -74%. And these verbatims really sum things up for me. So the first two are headwinds, where people felt they're operating in silos. There was a culture of not wanting to rock the boat. And these were contrasted by these tailwinds, with Airbnb having an amazing collaborative culture and deep passion for Airbnb's purpose, which is very hard to manufacture. We also wanted to create shared alignment on the direction for improving ways of working. So together, we created this vision for improving ways of working in community support. And a few key call outs here. The first is we're looking for long-lived multidisciplinary teams with clear outcomes, and importantly, an environment that's psychologically safe where people can do their best work. And we've since found this to be a great rallying call, and this vision has stood the test of time. We also wanted to avoid a big bang, learn slow, capital A, capital T, agile transformation approach. And so we set out with a think big, start small, learn fast mindset. And one of our first steps was to establish a cross-functional multidisciplinary team, which in Airbnb we called a Seedling Team. And we used the following criteria to select that team. The first is we wanted it to be strategically important. We knew that if it was high profile, it was more likely to get the air, sunlight, and water it needed for growth. Secondly, we want to be on fertile ground, so an environment that's fit for experimentation, fast feedback loops, and ideally some quick wins along the way. Next, we're looking for a caretaker leader, a leader that would protect the seedling through servant leadership and help to remove impediments. And hopefully you can see a glass house, which sits around our first seedling, and that's what caretaker leader represents in the sketch. And the next, we want it to be dedicated. We wanted this to be able to be a long-lived team rather than a short-term project. We also didn't want a top-down mandated approach to improving ways of working, as we're looking for invite over inflict. And so we began to find early adopters. And we set about finding curious early adopters to join our Seedling Team. And these are the people in your organization who say hell yes when it comes to new ways of working. And these trailblazers have helped us to create the social proof for others to come along on the journey and help us to cross the chasm from early adopters to our early majority cohort. And here I'm referencing the diffusion of innovations from Everett's work. So there's a little bit about how we got started. Anna, what do we do next?
Thanks, Marcus. Well, to propel that change, we created a fledgling center of enablement. Now, this was as much to support those initial seedling teams as it was to enable and engender that broader shift in mindset and culture that we were seeking. We did a few things. We ramped up news and updates through regular communications. We created a podcast. We launched Ways of Working community of practice. We also heavily invested in coaching and training on everything from business agility to Kanban to leadership development. Again, not focusing on any particular methodology, but rather on the patterns that would help teams apply agility in their own unique context. All of this helped us lay a groundwork for multiple seedling teams, which at this point you can see they're coming out of the greenhouse, able to survive on their own with the tools and language that we've given them. And those early seedling teams generated some really exciting early wins. Flow efficiency doubled, lead time halved. Engagement within our teams had never been higher. We were regularly seeing ENPS of 100%. And this was also coming through in the testimonials we were hearing from our teams. People were saying, I'm feeling so focused and productive. I don't want to go back to old ways of working. Seedling teams also helped us put a spotlight on our system of work. So for the first time, we began measuring things like our WIP and our throughput and our lead time. And we hadn't measured this before, so it'd been a big blind spot. And as we start measuring it, we start running experiments. We reduced WIP. We saw throughput rise dramatically, as you can see here in April. And as you can also see, even thereafter, it was really hard for us to keep work in progress in check. So our seedling teams are really starting to surface these impediments, these harder, more organizational, systems-based challenges. And whilst challenging, we know that impediments are the path. So it's at this point in the journey that we've confidence we're on the right path. This is also where the change got really hard for us. So what we saw was this. Our organizational structure and role-based silos meant it was really difficult to form those long-lived cross-functional teams, even in a protected seedling environment. And our traditional approach to portfolio management with work moving through stages was really only reinforcing big upfront design. And that combination of high WIP and an output-focused culture meant it was really difficult to see outcomes or experiment iteratively. And against the backdrop of these impediments is just the real challenge of changing mindsets. This is a great quote our VP of CS, Brent Potts, often references, which I love, really resonates with me when I think about that arc of change and a ways of working journey. Like, all truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it's accepted as being self-evident. So to get to self-evident, you need the social proof, and impediments are a really important part of that story. And with everything being clear in hindsight, these systemic challenges really came into view for us. In an output-centric culture, transparency of outcomes would be a culture change for us. And in a culture of good news, to get to impediment transparency, we were seeing that we needed to make it safe, psychologically safe, for our teams to surface what was getting in their way of continuous value delivery. And to form those long-lived cross-functional teams, we needed to break organizational dependencies rather than manage them. And we also learned that we needed even greater leadership buy-in. Now, we had tremendous support from the top with our VP of CS as well as our director sponsor, but what we were seeing only reinforced that we needed all leaders to really lean in, role model, and incentivize improving ways of working. So Marcus, what did we do next?
Thanks, Anna. So armed with the learnings from our Seedling Team experiments and our Centre of Enablement, we set forth to a senior leader offsite to begin the next phase of our journey to organise for outcomes. And this was a really pivotal moment back in June when the entire CS leadership team had come together for a quarterly business review. And we presented on Seedling Team results, and we also pushed for a workshop on value streams. And up to this point, we had amazing support from our sponsors, as Anna mentioned, but what we saw at this event was the entire leadership team begin to lean in and rally behind the change. So this is an incredibly exciting moment for the Centre of Enablement. And here's what we presented to the leadership team. We stepped through the anatomy of a value stream and conducted a hands-on exercise, which we found helped to create alignment and understanding for the concept. And here are some of the key elements. First of all, we wanted business and IT to be in the same value stream. As Anna mentioned, we wanted to break dependencies rather than manage them. Next, we wanted clarity on who the value stream consumer would be, either an internal value consumer or an external value consumer. We also wanted nested alignment from teams through to the community support strategy, and with progress to be transparently measured through the use of objectives and key results. We're also looking for long-lived multidisciplinary teams whose primary identity would be to the value stream rather than a functional silo. We recommended a number of practices and patterns, such as customer jobs to be done, having one backlog at the value stream level, and having all the capabilities needed to deliver being embedded within the value stream. And lastly, we're aiming for 3 leadership roles. The first being a value outcome lead, responsible for the why and the what. Next being a team outcome lead, responsible for the how, and a product outcome lead, looking at the technical how. And importantly, these are at each level, both team and at the value stream. We also wanted to get crisp on the mission and outcomes for improving ways of working. So we set about creating this set of metrics. And at its core is value and how those nested outcomes ladder up from team to strategy, and importantly, with the use of both leading and lagging indicators. And we created these 4 quadrants of quality, time to value, team engagement, and safety. But what's important here is balance. For example, we don't want to have speed at the expense of quality. So Anna, that concludes chapter 1 of our story. Where are we heading next?
Thanks, Marcus. So the leadership offsite in June was a very big moment for us. As for where would we go next, the takeaway was that we needed to go all in on nimble ways of working. Thankfully, not in the context of big bang, tops down change, but rather with renewed leadership support to organize in intentional value streams to deliver on our multi-year objectives. And as we turn the page to Chapter 2, focus will be the key, and nimble ways of working will be the how. So over the summer, we've started to organize for outcomes. For the first time, we're bringing work to the people instead of people to the work. We're looking for that frequent release of value in seedling teams that are now starting to evolve into saplings. We've defined clear outcomes through OKRs and are starting to optimize end-to-end delivery governance through lean portfolio management. And leaders are now leaning in more than ever and helping us pave the way forward. So what we're seeing is more pull for ways of working. We're starting to cross that divide from early adopters to early majority. And it's been really, really exciting to see how these efforts are paying off. In our H1 Ways of Working engagement survey, we saw a 42 basis point lift in ENPS and improvement across every major engagement indice, which is a first in my 10-year tenure at Airbnb. We've launched new platforms and mechanisms to drive engagement in learning in teams, and we've expanded our Ways of Working footprint to 26% of global CS.
Thanks, Anna. It's a great story, but folks, don't just take our word for it. Let's hear from the people who matter most, the teams in community support.
I've been seeing a lot more of these coordinated efforts between teams where everyone within those meetings has a voice.
I like that we're shifting our focus to the outcomes we want to drive for our community, and most importantly, that we're empowering CS team members to help figure out how we're most likely to achieve those outcomes.
I think that this new ways of working has empowered us to deliver at a higher speed, because now we have a diverse and capable team where everyone complements each other.
Passion, continuous drive, enablement. And I think what's most important, we've finally started to focus on the right things. And that's just the beginning of the journey.
Mine is our ability to move at speed. So from the time we identify which project we're going to take on, to doing our root cause analysis, to getting kind of help from analytics to help size it, to move towards experimentation, has really, really speeded up.
The collaboration between different teams, the transparency we have, and also how we are all going towards a common goal for the benefit of our community.
I like how we started acknowledging that we just shouldn't try to do more or do things in a faster way, but actually trying to focus on the outcome and in the impact that the teams are generating, which is really good.
Is that we're really giving the teams the autonomy to make decisions about improvements that are going to improve our agents' experience as well as our customers' experience.
Our service is really the prioritization model. We have a much clearer idea of the outcomes we want to achieve. We're consulting across broad stakeholders. We're understanding the business value.
I often hear new ways of driving conversations from senior leaders to ensure we are considering our work in a more visual way and calling on blockers or impediments.
Number one, I think we're more focused. It's always needed if you want to do impactful work. So that's absolutely brilliant.
I love the energy and passion about the work. And the focus and the engagement to deliver value that comes along with working with a dedicated team has been amazing.
So while we have a ton of work left to do, we're starting to see that we're able to move faster, and we're starting to move faster together. And that's really important.
Changing ways of working is really hard. The team has done an incredible job guiding us through every single step of the way. Starting small, delivering big. Thank you, guys.
My favorite thing about how we've improved our ways of working with the CS team is collaboration. Collaboration is at the heart of what we do, where everyone can come to the table with their ideas regardless of the team that they work in. Great minds, different perspectives and insights truly gather together to achieve ideal states, optimizations, and really ambitious goals.
Love hearing that video from the teams. And a big thank you to our early adopters at Airbnb. So where are we heading next? Well, now you can see in the sketch the full journey opening up. And our aspiration here is to foster a generative learning organization. And hopefully you can see a question mark there on the page. And what this represents is our emergent stance. So there's no crystal ball for improving ways of working. It's unique, it's unknowable, and it requires a probe, sense, respond approach. But we have confidence built through our experiments and the progress we've had to date. So we're cultivating a generative org where there is identity with the mission and the purpose of the organization. We're also incubating a learning organization using data and insights and experiments and where it's safe to fail. And ultimately, we are fostering an environment that's psychologically safe, where people can do their best work and where work is humane. Anna, over to you for a recap.
Thanks, Marcus. So firstly, thanks again. It's just been such a privilege to share our experience again with you all today. As we reflected on our journey, these are the patterns that really helped us navigate that chapter one. It starts with outcomes over outputs in an approach that is not one size fits all. We needed to think big, start small, learn fast in an invite over inflict approach that helped us find the patterns that work best in our context. Impediments are the path. They illuminate the dependencies and the challenges we needed to overcome as we chart the course ahead. And to navigate, we need to remain laser focused on our outcomes, intentionally organizing in value streams that optimize for the fast flow of value for our community. We hope these resonate with you, and I'm looking forward to staying connected and learning from your experiences as well. So just again, big thank you, Christina, for your story.